Our next speaker is going to be Melanie Spoon. Melanie is going to be talking about running an efficient and effective PA office. Melanie is a phenomenal public adjuster. Let's welcome Melanie.
Do you have the clicker? Good afternoon. I was asked, some might know me, some might not. Good Lord, those lights are bright. I am Melanie Spoon. I am business partners with my husband, insurancebusters.net. I'm also a teacher, public adjuster boot camp, and I'm also one of the 3 partners of PPA of America. Is my mic okay? Y'all hear me? It's cutting in and out. Okay. I'm not a loud speaker, so. I don't know. Well, he did it. Come on, Derek. Better? Okay, so I have 30 minutes. I normally teach 2 hours every day, 5 days a week. It does take that to get through an effective public adjuster office. I will follow up on Mr. Willis when he is speaking about the bad faith, all of that stuff. If you do not document your claim file properly, then things become hearsay, and hearsay is not admissible in court. So if you do not have a process and you do not have everything documented, there's no way that an attorney can back you up and get what the insured is truly owed. So I am going to tell you a little bit of information. Where do I point this thingy? Oh, thank you. So just a little bit of information. I do the accounting. I run the companies. I'm also a licensed public adjuster, I think in about 7 states, been licensed for 13 years. In order to handle your company correctly, you are only as strong as your weakest links. So you need to have proper people in your office. You need to have everything in order so you can move claims, and attorneys will want to take them. So in 1958, they actually formed the Small Business Corporations, S-Corp. I do advise everybody, if you are going to run a PIA company, that you need to be an LLC. Managers, put the right people in place. Make sure that you know that they're honest, truthful, same thing, sorry, but just make sure that you have everything in order. Accountant. If your accountant does not know what you do, they will not be able to do your taxes properly. So they definitely need to understand what a public adjuster is. Then you get to attorneys. In life, you need 2 things for sure. You need an attorney and you need an accountant. Without those 2 things, then you're probably not going to be able to move forward, be successful, and prosper. In regards to legislative changes, you can go to that state DOI, you can scroll down, sign up for the newsletter, that way you stay up to date on the legislation. When there are changes in Florida, you will get flooded by Nancy Dominguez. Nancy will tell you of all of the upcoming bills and everything. That is my course to stay on top of everything prior to bills getting entered already. So always sign up for the newsletters. In the event that you want to go to another state, you do need to research their statutes, because some statutes are prompt, and I mean, the truth is they're going to try to drown you. And if you don't have enough money in your back pocket, you're going to drown. They will hold that money, they will not release it, and you will be forking a lot of money out and getting nothing in return in the beginning. I always advise 6 months. Whatever your lifestyle is, you need 6 months in your pocket before you actually advent to another state that is prompt. I love Texas. Texas is super strict. We are on very strict timelines. If you question anything, and I don't care if it's the DOI, if it's attorneys, whoever it is, we all put our pants on the same way. There is absolutely no reason that they are more important or less important. If you have a question, send it in writing. I do not make phone calls. I want it in black and white, because if I ever need to use it, that is what I'm going to use. Signing your contract. If done thoroughly and documented properly, you can keep the insureds off your back. You can let them know exactly what you do, how you do it, the whole process, and once everything's happening, they'll see it come to fruition, and They'll stay off of your phones and your phones won't be ringing. That way you can stay on the phones with the carriers and you can actually go against them. So you definitely need to make sure that whatever you do have in your contract, that is approved, that is reviewed, and you have attorneys that are reviewing whatever it may be. If you need to pay some attorneys, you do need protection for you, because our job is to protect the insureds. We always have the insured's largest assets in our hands. And unfortunately, that is most of the time the truth. Their commercial businesses, their houses, stuff like that, that is their largest assets in their life. That is what we affect, that is what we do. So if you can affect everything and you can have a process, you can take volume. You can be a one-person show. You can do everything. You can be multi-licensed. It is possible. Clear presentation and definitions that we are not the attorneys. Following up on Mr. Willis, hearsay is not admissible. So unless you do your job, you will not be able to get attorneys to take your claims. I do not like moving my claims to attorneys. I want, obviously, to get all the money that I can for the insured. That way they only have my fee. They don't have the attorney's 30 to 40%. But if I can't do that, I need somebody to back me up, and I can't make them pay the money that they owe, but they can. So that is their job. This is my job. I do my job very well as long as I document everything and I run everything in black and white. Attorneys, they handle a lot of gray, and I don't do any gray. It is black or white, and that is it. Following up on your question, sir, on the left, I feel that my wording to your question would be they are the authorized representative. And if they're the assigned authorized representative, then either they were competent or non-competent. And that's exactly how I address it. Were they not competent to perform the duties set forth them? If they weren't, then you did not do a reasonable action. Everything has to be reasonably on our side as well as theirs. They can't be biased and we can't be biased. So if it's an authorized representative, then they're held responsible no matter what. They are under the insurance's umbrella. You satisfy their contractual obligations. That is what our job is. Duties after a loss, that is the most important part of the claim. That is the most important part of the policy. If you do not read policies, I really don't know how you're adjusting claims. You have to have a policy, because I am very faithful. I am very devoted to what my faith is, and when I'm running claims, policy is Bible, literally. You have to have that policy. You have to have the certified policy in order to affect it. Because if it's removed in a certain part of that policy, normally the endorsement brings that coverage right back in. So you have to make sure that you are paying attention and that you are getting certified policies. Interview the insured. I have a lot of students that I've previously taught in here. If you do not interview the insureds, you're not going to win that deposition. If you are moving claims to attorneys, you will be deposed. Me and my husband were deposed, I believe, over 170 times in 1 year period. And with all of those depositions, I learned where the cracks were. I learned where my faults were. They don't exist anymore. So that's exactly how that happened, and I was very, very thankful for them. I can't see any of this. Let me go here. So you must obtain all the previous documents. If the insured does not want to give you documentation for their claim because they want to see what you're going to do, that's not valid. You have to have it. If there is an estimate written on that property, you need to have it. If they have grabbed coverage, our job is to make sure that they pay for it properly. When they grab coverage, they'll remove a piece of sheetrock. What about the electrical? What about the crown and the base? What about all of those items? If all of those items aren't included, then it wasn't comprehensive. So we need to make sure that everything is involved, everything is included, and you have to have all of the previous estimates, contractors' reports, invoices, bids, whatever it may be, you need it. So you cannot move forward if you don't have the policy and you don't have the previous documents. The questionnaire, if you've come to our class, I have provided you a 2-page questionnaire. When you do that questionnaire, you know exactly what coverages you need to affect. As public adjusters, I've met a lot of public adjusters. They just write estimates on dwelling and other structure. If the personal property was there, y'all as public adjusters, you need to get that. One main reason when you get that check It's only you and the insured. You don't have to worry about mortgage companies. You don't have to worry about any of that. So as long as you get the personal property done, loss of use, fair market rental value, anything. If you are not good at accounting, then you don't need to do forensic accounting. Do a research, forensic accounting, call and ask one clear question. Do you work for the carriers? If they work for the carriers, there's a conflict of interest, move on. Contact another one. When you do the questionnaire, everything's going to come out. If you've had my questionnaire, you know exactly how detailed it gets, and you will get all the information. And in all honesty, I don't take every claim I'm presented. I will review it, and if I do not think it's valid and I don't want to put my livelihood behind that person, I'm not taking that claim. We are morally and ethically held to a standard that we have these insured's lives in our hands, and either you can affect it or you need to move on. And if you can't affect it correctly, you definitely don't need to touch their life. And that's my opinion. So, sorry. Document, document, document. Literally, all of my notes say that. I say it every single day that I teach. You have to document everything. It doesn't matter who does the action. If I hang up on them, which I do often, I will hang up on them. I'm not going to argue with them. I'm not going to sit there and go back and forth, back and forth. We are adults. We are professionals. If they can't act professionally, I'll hang up on them. I will put everything in writing. If I have a verbal conversation, I will memorialize that in an email back to them. Per our conversation, blah, 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 blah. Make it in writing, because our story can only be told in the courts without hearsay. Hearsay is not admissible. That can't be expressed enough. So either you document it, either you have every single interaction in your notes, because at a jury of 12, they're going to give them your notes. And if they can't read everything that happened, they can't see the whole story. You have to present the whole story in order for the insured to be indemnified properly. No coverage left on the table. That is done throughout the questionnaire. If you do a questionnaire, create one. What was your previous claims? You need to know about previous claims. If you do not ask that question in your initial conversations with the insureds, you need to implement that. If you go out on site, you have your estimators, they write all of the reports, they do absolutely everything, you meet on site and they're like, oh, well, that was paid for last year. That was paid for last year. You're dead in the water. There's nothing you can do. You can't get pissed off, you can't get mad at the insureds, and you didn't ask the question. You can't be mad that they didn't offer something that you knew as a professional you needed to present. Read and know policies. If somebody calls me today and they say, oh, well, I had a loss, my roof, a branch came through my roof, and we got up there, there's a huge hole in it, blah, 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 blah. My next question is, who are you insured through? If they say Allstate, UPC, I know pretty much what that policy is going to say. If it says UPC, I know that it has to be a sworn proof of loss on their document, because that's exactly what their policy says, and it must be notarized by the insured. So I know, and I can tell them the day I sign them what to expect. When I get that estimate to you, it becomes your valuation, which then becomes your proof of loss. That is how I address it. So anytime that I am arguing them or I am doing anything with the carrier, I always use the same exact language. That is in the statutes, that is in the policy. That is how we contradict our issues. Know what policies you are affecting. When you get that policy, you need to know, is it a forced place policy? Forced place policies, they're not fun. I'm gonna let you know, if you don't know what a forced place policy is, do a little bit of research. The insured is not the insured. The bank is the insured normally. So it's a very hard policy to deal with. Surplus lines. Surplus lines, they have extended timelines. When you're going on prompt payment, which obviously when you're like, oh, is that covered? Is that covered? Yeah, it's covered. Okay, you have 5 business days. They have 20 business days to get payments out. There's additional extended timelines for surplus lines. Federal. Back in the day, I sent over this wonderful complaint to the State Department of Insurance for a federal loss. The State Department of Insurance was like, hey, thank you for submitting that complaint. We don't govern federal. It's like, you're right, my apologies. Know what you're affecting. Flood, I don't care what state you're in, flood will not put your name on a check. So you have to make sure that your contract is sealed tight. There is no way you will get that payment unless you want to file breach of contract and take that route. It's not a fun route. Business record. Like I said, the only way that you can get attorneys to follow you up, the only ways that you can get your claims moved, and the only way that you will keep yourself out of depositions is to prove that your company forms business record. This is one of my subpoenas. I did pull it off. I did take a little bit of long-winded questions out of there, but this is the gist of it. State your full name, residence, and occupation. Are you official records custodian for the entity responding? Please state whether the documents are kept and maintained by you. Are the records kept under your care, supervision, custody, or control? If you have photocopies instead of originals, are they true and accurate? Please state whether you have provided all records required by the subpoena. If you have not provided all the records, why not? They want to know. If any of these questions are answered the opposite of what they're expecting, you're going to be deposed. They want to know why. Why not? Or why did you? If you were the notes, records, and reports made by a person with knowledge or made from information transmitted by a person of knowledge of the acts, events, conditions, or opinions therein. Were the notes, records, and reports made at or near the time of events. If I am on site doing inspections, I will literally send myself an email if I get communication while I'm on site. It was done during the time of event. I can document it later, but it was still done during the time of event. I can attest to that. I can't attest to something that is hearsay. Were the notes, records, or reports furnished, kept in the course of your regularly conducted business activity by you? Then it goes on. There's actually 19 questions, almost every single one, state or federal, you will get the 19 questions. Were the notes, records, or reports furnished, made, or caused to be made by you in the regular course of business? Is it the regular practice of business activities for you to make those notes, records, and reports? Was the method of preparation of the notes, records, or reports furnished trustworthy and reliable? Did anyone destroy or dispose of the documents? I had one literally yesterday. I'm handling a large commercial claim in Abilene, and she asked me, she said, well, I see that you've handled this property 4 times. She said, what about the documents back in 2013? I have to keep my records for 5 years. I did not release those. I'm not going to search for those. The state requires me to keep them for 5 years. The commissioner requires me to keep them for 5 years. Now is not the time for them to be asking for those documents. You should have asked for them when it went through underwriting. That's when you should have asked for them. That's not reasonable to me. Attorneys, they might have a different discussion on that, but that's where I stand. I'm not an attorney. I stand my firm, very firm. I will not move from my stance. Where was I? Did anyone destroy or dispose of the documents that were in your possession? If anyone did, provide the date on which they were disposed of. For the documents that did get disposed, who was the person that made that decision? And then the last one, for those documents that were destroyed or disposed of, identify, my apologies, wrong one. State the name, address, and person who destroyed them, and then who made that decision. That is the questions you're going to have to answer upon your initial serving of a subpoena. Federal or state, it doesn't matter. You're going to have to answer these deposition questions. Record keeping. This word, relentless, it is oppressively constant. I have been told by multiple people that have come in my office and worked with me or I've trained, you are relentless. Whether I'm a bitch, I'm constantly a bitch. I can't help that. Whether I am very, very nice and very strict, I am constantly that way. I run every single claim, no matter if it is a $20,000 mobile home or a $2 million commercial property. Every single claim is run the same way, and it has to be. That is what proves your business record. Business record is the key to keeping you out of depositions. Thorough documentation. If you are in an office and you are the only person in your office, set yourself calendar dates. If you know that they have 15 days to set up investigation, set your calendar date for 15 days. If you are not checking in with them, how you get rid of Melanie is you do your job. I am dead serious. I am on them every single day. If I know they are going ahead and they're trying to ghost me and they're trying to go around every way, I have 5 different cell phones. I use every one of them. They will answer, I assure you. They do answer, and then they're like, damn it, it's Melanie. Hi, how are you today? Good. We need to talk about this claim. Organization. I am severe OCD. It is very good for me. There is a method to my madness. I assure every single one, all of my previous students, they understand it very, very well. There is an extreme method to my madness. If your claim, can y'all see that? I tried blowing it up. It is a screenshot of one of my claim files. If a claim file comes across like this and you send that to an attorney, that's what they want to see. They don't want to spend 2 days trying to figure out what your claim is, trying to figure out what do they need to do. They don't want to do that. They have much higher rates than we have, and I'm not going to waste their time. I will make their job as easy as I can so they can go and get proper indemnification for the insured. I don't know if any other attorney has addressed it, but if it never goes to court, attorney's fees aren't separated. So if you have and can prove bad faith, you need to file those complaints. You need to do that. That is your duty to protect the insured. Protecting yourself is your contract. Protecting the insured, reporting all the bad faith. A lot of insureds have told me, oh, build that bad faith, Melanie, build that bad. I'm not building bad faith. That is not my intentions, that is not my purpose, but I will report every infraction that they do. If I have given you a reasonable demand, which is the valuation, which is the proof of loss, you send somebody out, let's say it's $75,000. You send somebody out that only has writing capabilities of $35,000, that's not reasonable. I already presented what the insured was claiming. So we need to make sure that if they consider it large loss, you address that up front. How are you in receipt of my POL? Oh, you are? Okay, well, is he a large loss consultant? Well, why do we need large loss? Well, what do you consider large loss? 75? Well, we need large loss. Because if you send anybody else, that's not fair. That is not reasonable. It is our job to make sure that the claim is sealed tight. In the event it needs to go to legal, it's one click. You are done. You've done your job. You've documented absolutely every single thing, no matter what happened. If I have cussed on them, if I have hung up on them, that's in my notes. It is. If I have to attest to it, I'm going to. But a word of advice from me, I have 6 minutes left. Word of advice from me, if you are not willing to say it in front of a federal judge, keep your mouth shut. I have told federal judges it's not relevant. And he's like, well, Ms. Spoon, it's my choice. I was like, you're right. You're absolutely right. Thank you. However, he puts his jeans on the same way I do. Attorneys, they put their jeans on the same way I do. We are no better than anybody, and we are no less than anybody. Keep moving forward. If you know what you're doing, you are confident in your stance, you are confident in your profession, you know that policy, you know the damage. You can prove the damage. You have written the damage, you have photoed the damage, you have provided them the blueprints to do it correctly. Keep moving forward. You have provided yourself with knowledge, you've done your continuing education, you have done absolutely everything that you can do to progress in our field. You need to be confident. They're going to tell you everything. Oh, well, that's not covered. Reply with the policy language that states such. If they can't reply with black and white, that's gray. I don't deal with gray. I'm a black and white person. Education, you need to educate. You need to educate yourself. You need to educate your insured. If somebody calls me, I have multiple states that people call me. I don't really know how they got my number, but they'll call me, and they are in despair. They need help. I am not licensed in your state, but I will do all of this research. I will stay on the phone with you for an hour, because you know what? They're going to tell their family member that is in a licensed state of yours, call that girl. Call her. She knows what she's talking about. She knows what she's doing. She can help you. It's happened numerous times. I have taken phone calls from people in California. I want to be licensed in California. It's just a little too far. I'm not going over there. But I've sat on the phone for an hour and a half with ladies, and she's like, what do I do? I've emailed her the statutes. I've emailed her her DOI information. I have told her exactly what to do. Immediately advise them, stop verbal communication. Writing. And I'll tell all the IAs, all communication on this claim is in writing only. Well, why? Well, for one, you can't miscommunicate what I said. And for two, keeps everybody honest. And it does. They're not going to say what they just said to you on that phone. They're not going to put it in black and white. They refuse. They're not going to do it. Confidence and determination. Relentless. And that's where it is. You have to be relentless. You have to have the drive, you have to have the personality, and you have to have the confidence to know, I am doing the right thing. I am representing that policy. That is what that policy says, not what you said. If you can't reply to me saying that that is what is included in that policy, then I'm going to keep moving forward. Because unfortunately, it doesn't matter. Oh, well, that's denied. Where's the policy language that allows that to happen? If it doesn't allow that to happen, that's not the truth. Galen, Sean, James, they'll take them. Lauren, they'll take them for sure. So that is my little presentation. I'll see y'all again at 5:15, but does anybody have any questions? I normally don't have questions, even when I do complaint Zooms. Normally no questions. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was Melanie Spoon, the real boss.